Welcome everybody tonight to our Neighborhood Voices Initiative statewide event. It's a webinar, and on this one we're going to introduce a couple of new items this time about some bills that are attacking our treasured California coastlines, and that is new and that is awful. And we'll help describe what these bills are and what they potentially could do to our coastlines. But first off, just some housekeeping is that we'll try to keep the presentation to be about a half an hour. And then after that, we'll allow you guys to write questions into the thing and we'll answer those. We'll answer them either live or we'll answer them in the chat. You also can enter questions, Q&A, during the event. And we have a couple of our wonderful folks here tonight. So there's Anita Enender and Jovita Mendoza, who are going to be answering your questions as they come in. And if we'll be staying, we're going to try to keep this to an hour. But a lot of times when a lot of questions come in, for some of us, if we want to stay longer, we certainly can, because we definitely want to answer all of your questions. All right, so everybody, we're about 100 so far, over 100 strong. So welcome to everybody. Like I said, I think we have a whole bunch of new participants tonight that haven't maybe heard so much about our Neighborhood Voices. So welcome to everybody. So I will start now. My name is Susan Candell. I'm a Lafayette City Council member and former mayor, and also one of the proponents of the Our Neighborhood Voices initiative. So I'm not representing my city tonight. I'm definitely representing our initiative. And I will start to share my screen. Oh, actually, why don't we introduce everybody else too? First, we've got 4 main speakers tonight. And Nils, why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Councilmember Nils Nerheim from Redondo Beach. Got elected in 2017, and within 10 days of being elected and sworn in, developers came to town and decided to personally sue myself and the mayor, because what do developers want? They want to profiteer off of everything, and I stood in the way of them. And been up to state Supreme Court and back, and I got into office by passing a local initiative that amended our local coastal plan to zoning plan for along the beach here, the coastal zone. And it was the first initiative to pass in Redondo Beach unanimously through all 5 districts, and then go to the Coastal Commission, and not a single word was changed. It got approved there by nearly a unanimous vote. First time in the history of the Coastal Commission. So very proud of that. Been elected and serving right here. You can see the little mini Miami right behind me. That's why actually the Coastal Commission was created, those big buildings.
All right, now we have Kalima Pryforce.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kalima Pryforce. I am council member for the city of Emeryville, and I am happy to be here, originally from Brooklyn, New York. I have a background in education, tech, and philanthropy, and decided to throw my hat into politics. And for someone who ran for the first time, I was able to win on a landslide against 4 other opponents. And it was on a campaign that celebrated not just neighborhood character, but also the ability to be both pro-neighborhood and pro-housing. Let's see how that works. And we'll talk about that a little later.
And then we have Dennis Richards. You're muted.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dennis Richards. I've been involved in land use activism for the last 30 years. I was a planning commissioner from 2014 to 2020 in San Francisco. And we have had rezonings in the past, which the neighborhoods actually had a voice in. And if you walk down in our neighborhood, down Market Street, you can see the fruits of our labor. Developers actually said to us, with the neighborhood's input, we actually have better projects. And now we're facing an onslaught of state-mandated unreachable goals. And I got back involved with Our Neighborhood Voices, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm glad you're all here tonight, too.
All right, with that, we will start our presentation. Let me share my presentation here. All right, I hope all you guys can see this. So your voice, your neighborhood, our neighborhood voices. Come on. So this is a cartoon sketch of the California housing legislation highlights as of April 9th of 2024. These are just the bills for 2024. This is onslaught of housing bills started in 2017, and it is now a web of 150 to 200 bills that cities have to comply with regarding housing, and actually now turning into housing production laws as well, even though cities don't build housing. We approve housing, and we approve housing. 99% of us approve all of our housing. It's very few housing projects that ever get denied. And then this year, they have a new category called coastal housing production. And that is the one that is so alarming right now. And as of this point, you have no say. There are no public hearings on major housing projects, no notice of lot splits and fourplexes or more in single-family neighborhoods, no way to influence what gets built, even the ADU next door. And yes, this is a real picture of a real ADU being built 4 feet from the fence lines because that's what they're allowed to, and you have absolutely no say. The web of laws is so extensive, it is costing cities an enormous amount of money, even just to understand them, to comply with them. Nils.
So, in Redondo Beach, we have been under the attack of developers for a long time. We've had an unfortunate history of upzoning high density in Redondo, getting rid of our commercial, and we've had a lot of fights. We are one of the reasons why the Coastal Commission was created back in the 1970s. And since then, the state has been taking away our rights and ability to locally zone and keep control of what happens. All these state bills that are coming out every single year, just mentioned how many happening this year. There's been over 200 so far since 2017. We in Redondo, we've been fighting hard. We fought SB 415, which is actually an election law bill, which allows cities, and we won, but the state wanted to force every city in California to go to an even year election cycle. We could win these lawsuits. We're fighting SB 9, the lot split. We're fighting SB 10, but it's expensive. And those that we lose, they continue on. Those that we win on, they go back and just simply change the legislation, correct the error from the judges, and then move on next year and with a new bill. And we could sue, we could fight like we are going to. You're going to see here these bills coming up. We've been successful in fighting. SB 35 was originally SB 330, which died, but the following year they just come popping right back up again. So this initiative takes care of all of that by allowing local cities to have that local control and not have the state override our local zoning laws. Now, with that said, any city that wants to allow these laws coming in from Sacramento will be allowed to move forward. The laws, as long as city councils allow them to, and that's the most important part. But it's just this game of suing and fighting these bills. It's only getting worse every year. It just doesn't stop.
Okay. Dennis.
Great. So a developer in San Francisco named Cyrus Senandanji last week wrote an article, an op-ed piece in the Standard. He basically said Sacramento, with the pro-housing lobbyists, let's not say activists, because they get paid a very healthy sum of money to be there in Sacramento, quote, lobbying on their behalf. He said the emphasis on wedge issues from Sacramento, letting the state impose blanket construction rules, pushing for seemingly unlimited building heights, eliminating single-family zoning, repealing Prop 13 tax limits, which is coming, banning automobiles, and trying to force zero parking on all projects creates unnecessary conflict and alienates would-be allies. Well, I think, folks, we've had enough of Sacramento telling us what to do. One other thing I'd like to let you know is, as well, on this issue, is the Eric DeCock from the California chapter of the American Planning Association wrote first week of April. In the past few years, the California legislature, with Scott Wiener as the pro-housing legislator, has upzoned just about everything that could be upzoned in the name of housing, transit-oriented areas, job-rich areas, high-resource neighborhoods, malls, big box stores, college campuses, church parking lots, and yes, your backyard, at least many backyards, by way of ADU laws and the Senate Bill 9 duplex laws. Here's the punchline. Seemingly, the only place left for Senator Wiener and the Sacramento politicians to upzone is the Pacific Ocean. And thus, California's upzoning frenzy may be coming to an end. But that doesn't mean that the legislator is done promoting housing, because we have 300 more bills that were introduced this session. So as Niels had said, you get the picture of carpet bombing us with these bills via the picture that Susan showed. So the only thing that stands between you and all this crap is a constitutional amendment by our Neighborhood Voices initiatives. In the event that your city chooses to not follow a law that Sacramento has passed on housing, except for 100% affordable housing, your city gets to say, no, I don't want to do it. Or your city gets to say, I do want to do it. So it's not a blanket ban on Sacramento housing laws. It's a case by case where you and your city and your neighbors actually have a restored voice. Your voice is completely taken away. The only thing left to actually restore that voice is our Neighborhood Voices initiative.
And what it'll do is, the initiative itself is simple. It just says that if in the event of a conflict between a local law and a state law over land use and zoning, the local law will prevail. It's very simple. It doesn't automatically undo any laws, but it'll allow the cities to choose which laws work best for your city, working together with your constituents to figure out how to use some of the good ideas the state has given us, instead of just being thrust all these upon us as if a small city is like a big city, because they're not. And so the initiative right now is the only way to undo that web of laws that have been thrust upon us. And now it's the only thing that will save our coasts. So Nils.
All righty. So this sucker, a lot of people think that this is fake, but guess what? It's real. That tower is something from a very complicated piece of legislation called state density bonus law. Excuse me, not take it back. Developers remedy. Developers remedy.
It's a density bonus.
Well, there's a density bonus with developers remedy on top, or developers remedy plus density bonus on top to make it so big and huge. AB 2560, Coastal Commission, the picture you see behind me was created in the 1970s from a voter-led legislation because of these massive buildings that you see right behind me being built. Redondo Beach was the worst of them all, preventing all coastal access, parking. You wouldn't be able to get to the beach. Well, AB 2560 attacks the coastal zone and the Coastal Act and allows density bonus projects. So if you include have a housing project or any type of project, and you put low density bonus law in there, affordable housing in there, you automatically get overridden approvals by over the city, right past all the coastal zone, local coastal plan that you might have, or the coastal zone. And you might ask yourself, what is a density bonus project? Well, density bonus project is simply defined by the state legislature, which they can change at any legislative session whatsoever. Unlimited concessions and waivers. What does that mean? That means you can have these huge buildings here. This is not a joke. This is an actual project going up in the coastal zone. So, like I said, developers in the 1970s were buying land and building massive projects along our coastline, impacting our ability to access the coastline. Nowhere else in the United States do we have the coastal zone or the Coastal Act. Go to Miami, go to Florida, you can't access the coastline like you can here in Redondo Beach, like you can in Long Beach, in San Francisco, in San Diego. That is a right Californians have given themselves through the initiative process. And AB 2560 severely guts our ability to manage the coastal zone.
If I may add, the project that you see on the screen actually was in the coastal zone, and Senator Wiener, our own senator, who we feel actually hates our city, was cutting out San Francisco from the coastal zone, which would have allowed
That's
this.
the next one. That's the next. We'll talk about that next, Dennis.
Okay.
So Coastal Commission voted unanimously to oppose this bill. That's just really, really, really important. You know, I've dealt with the Coastal Commission. They care about three things: access, views, and parking. And what does that mean? That means if you have a project, you have to be conformed to the Coastal Act. And just so everyone knows history on the Coastal Act real quick, 1981, there was a requirement for 25% affordability in coastal zone. State legislature ripped that out and made no affordability requirement. Then it came back a few years later and put a 10% affordability requirement. So we cannot stand for AB 2560. It has to be opposed, and we have to oppose it. Next slide, please. You know, these bills get really complicated very quickly, so I'm going to go over as high level as possible for you. The coastal zone extends to a certain depth inland. It varies from city to city, and even from within that city, it can be different areas. It can be as far as a mile in. It could be as far as 200, 300, 400, 500 feet in. There's different parts of the coastal zone: appealable zones and non-appealable zones. Basically, what Senator Wiener is doing here, and he's from San Francisco, like Dennis was just saying, he's essentially moving the coastal zone to the first 300 feet, which is the absolute minimum where these projects can move forward. The first 300 feet, what is the first 300 feet? It's really basically almost nothing. I mean, it's very little. In Redondo Beach, it affects a very small amount of portions of our coastal zone, but the coastal zone in its entirety is much larger, 2 to 3 times, 4 times the size of what they're doing here. And this is an end around, because there's actually verbiage in SB 951 that goes through and says if you don't get certain projects in within a certain point in time, the project gets blanket approvals or zoning update your zoning with a certain amount of time. Your city puts in the new zoning goes into effect regardless of Coastal Commission. Next slide, please. So this is a trick, what you see on the screen right now. For now, Senator Wiener's pulled offensive language out. You know, this is a typical normal trick. What happens in the state legislature is this: they kind of use one of two pathways. The first pathway is propose something really bad and then start whittling away and end up something that's just bad. The other trick is propose something kind of benign, make it go through the system, and then in August, after it's gone through all the different commissions and legislative actions and everything that they do a little simple thing, and right before they vote on it, they do this thing called gut and amend, and they just take out a bunch of stuff out of there and they add in a bunch of new stuff. And while the bad parts of this are taken out, we expect them to fully be brought back in again. We in Redondo have voted to oppose these bills. And SB 951 is the sister bill of 2560. Next slide, please. So changes the ADU law and junior ADU. So what Senator Wiener wants to do is very simple. He wants to, quote, streamline as much development along the coastline as possible. If you look at the coastline, you will see the density of their coastline is far denser than anywhere else in the state. We live next to Hermosa Beach, the densest city along the California coastline at over 14,000 people per square mile. All right, you can't find that density in Barstow or Palm Springs or San Gabriel Valley, San Joaquin Valley, or up in Napa Valley, San Diego inland. You're not going to find these densities. Everyone wants to be in the coastal zone. Everyone wants to live there. There's a reason for that. And so when they use this verbiage in here, next couple buttons here, things called streamlining the process. They want to streamline the process. Streamline means you get rid of the protections that people have in place. Coastal Act puts in place. Streamlining means you bypass any local control so that when a project comes in, it'll just get administratively approved. It doesn't go to your planning commission. If it does get appealed, they have to say yes. If they say no, it can get appealed to the city council. They have to say yes. If they say no, boom, they can get a lawsuit by a developer, and a bunch of YIMBY groups, which are pro-development groups, will sue the city. This happened in Manhattan Beach, same thing. So all of this legislation and streamlining is really bad for our coastal cities. And I want to add one other thing. You should go back, if you remember the slide from the beginning with the girl in the standing in her backyard at ADU. An ADU could be 1,100, 1,200 square feet. That's the size of a house. That's huge. So ADUs, this is I don't even want to get into the parking issues of this as well, but it is a huge problem that we need to deal with as well. Next slide.
All right, Dennis.
Sure. So our initiative timeline, our target is to boost our donations and our supporters to begin with money to begin collecting signatures in 2025 to qualify for the November 2026 ballot. These initiatives, especially a constitutional amendment initiative, are very heavy lifts. The last time a citizen-led revolt actually made it to the ballot was 1990, and then prior to that was the Coastal Act, a Commission Act of 1972. So we're up against a very, very entrenched, moneyed, lobbyist-driven Sacramento legislature, let's face it, and the governor too. So we need you to please help us donate now. Get your friends to sign up as well, create awareness, and build our army because we've had enough.
Kalima.
So Susan Georgian, Executive Director of the California Coastal Protection Network, that's based in Santa Barbara, said that Wiener's policies, this is SB 951, won't promote the development of affordable housing and could instead open the door for the type of exclusive upscale developments, curbing public access that the Coastal Commission was created to prevent. And who cares about that? Well, Supervisor Aaron Peskin of San Francisco, who said that this has nothing to do with housing. The California Coastal Commission has never been an impediment to housing in the coastal zone in San Francisco. And in fact, if they do it in San Francisco, they'll do it in San Diego and Crescent City, and it's the beginning of the end of the model law that's worked for California. That's the envy of the nation. So when I heard that this guy, Aaron Peskin, was about to run for mayor, I got on the BART here in Emeryville in the East Bay and came to see him and was joined by hundreds and hundreds of people. Now, I know why you're here. You're here because some guy named Derek Poindexter, who lives in their mother's basement, keeps telling you that you need to build more housing, much luxury rate housing, market housing, because all housing is good, all housing is equal. And that Derek Poindexter is either on this call right now, but they definitely tried to show up at that rally, and very few of them actually were succeeded. Aaron Peskin's mayoral race is gathering all of us together. That's why I went to San Francisco, because this movement, this movement that is bringing people together and creating a big tent coalition, no matter what your political influences are, we are all coming together because we know that local democracy is so critically important, and not it being dictated by the whims of those who are in Sacramento. And so I'm excited about Aaron Peskin's mayoral launch. And is that picture of Dennis and I still there?
All right, I just took it down, but yeah.
Okay. Well, Dennis was really excited. I was really excited. We were all very excited about this mayoral launch, because what it shows is that San Francisco, which is the heart of YIMBYism, that has essentially swept the entire world, that at the heart of YIMBYism, in Scott Wiener's backyard, hi, see what I did there? That a movement that we have all been a part of is beginning to take root. And I know that as an elected official, sometimes it can be scary to deal with some of the YIMBYs, to deal with some of these policies that are coming forth in Sacramento. But his mayoral campaign, which we are in support of, if and when he wins, will show that elected officials who stand up for themselves, who stand up for their cities, stand up for their neighborhood coalitions, can win elections, and then things begin to fall apart for the other side. And so I'm excited to be a part of this movement that is bringing all of us together. If a mayoral race on one side of the Bay can attract a council member from the other side of the Bay, that means that something is happening. And this groundswell of activity is what is uniting all of us together. And so our neighborhood voices is looking out for what's happening for your city that's in these coastal areas, and it's also looking out for everyone else who will also be affected. But you guys, if you don't stand up for yourselves, then the rest of us will have to stand up for you guys as well.
So I've been at this for 6 years. We've got a lot of things have caught fire, brush fires, Redondo Beach, Manhattan Beach, other places, but it's happening in San Francisco in a big way. Finally, after all these years, people are realizing what Sacramento is up to. We need you and your neighbors to actually create the brush fires in your communities to start the same kind of movement that started in San Francisco 2 Saturdays ago. We're here to help, and we want to make change. Thank you.
All right, so I'll go back to the presentation. We got one more slide here. Hopefully Nils can take this one. Hey, Nils, are you muted?
I'm sorry about that. So we can't do anything without your help, and money and help come through many different ways. We need money, and I'll be completely honest, we need a lot of it. We've collected a ton, but we need a lot more. And it's come in the form of $5, $10, $50, $100, $10,000, $50,000, and $200,000. And I'm not joking when I say that. Building a coalition, building a team, we have a ton of volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everyone you see here are volunteers. We're spending a ton of time. All we're asking from you is a simple donation to help us. You can do a simply $20 donation a month, can move it forward, give us a couple $100 now, check in, but you're getting in on the ground floor for us moving forward. Just so you know what we've already built the initiative. We already have 2-3 versions of the initiative done. We've gone through the process. We have the teams, we have the websites. Now we're building the next button, please. The events. So what we need from you guys out there are house parties. I just did a couple of house parties in the Palos Verdes, Rancho Palos Verdes area, picked up some big checks, had an HOA meeting, had a personal
$10,000 check. Woohoo!
$10,000 check. Didn't want to say thank you. Yep. And we need online meetings. Hey, you don't want to bring people to your house? We get it. That's fine. But tell all your friends. The number one thing you can do right now is post. And we can have an online meeting. All of us here are available to come in and lead the whole thing. And you don't have to do anything other than send out some emails to your friends. We will host everything for you. We'll have the Zoom. We'll have all the material for you, whether it's in person or online. Next slide, next button. So this one's really important here because we can't get anywhere without getting visibility. And the number two thing other than money I'd like to see from you guys tonight is to post on your social media, our Facebook page, or our website, and text or email 2 or 3 other people and say, hey, listen, I went to this tonight. I need you to know about this. And here's why. Ask me about it. Most read section of any newspaper is the letters to the editor section. Simple letter to the editor. I was on a Zoom meeting. I went to a meeting regarding our neighborhood voices. Let's take out these Sacramento legislators and how they're overriding our local control. Join our neighborhood voices. That is the most impactful thing you can do. And of course, we have our online donation system. We can send us a check. You can do it online. We take it all and we need it all. You know, at the end of the day, we're going to need a huge volunteer base, or we're going to need a huge money base, because to get the signatures, you're going to need $10 a signature, 1.5 million signatures right in there, $10 to $15 million for signatures, or you do 100% volunteer army. And next button here, that is where you come in. We have 50,000 people signed up. We're gaining momentum. We're getting more volunteers. We need you. We need you to tell your family and friends. Like I said, tonight is the night. Just let 2 or 3 people know, hey, this is what I went to. Please sign up. I'll help educate you what's going on. This is happening in your backyard, your side yard, your front yard, your neighborhood. It's happening everywhere around you. And just so you know, when the bulldozers show up, it's too late. So please help us.
Absolutely. So I hope everybody here, because there are a bunch of new people, please go right now to the ourneighborhoodvoices.com website and click join. That's how you join the army, the movement, the effort, this whole big tent of people in California fired up to protect our coasts and to protect your neighborhoods. So it is the strength of this coalition. It's wild. It's the biggest thing I've ever worked on. But what is so cool is that you've got, you know, we did a big poll and we've got every demographic. You know, we defy party lines. It's probably one of the only thing that all Californians can agree on right now is this initiative. And so, but without your help, we won't get there. We're going to try to get there in 2026. And if we don't do that, we'll go for 2028, but we don't want to wait that long. We know what these laws are starting to do. If you've seen the builders remedy projects around our state, like the city of Saratoga, it's a small little city down in near Silicon Valley. They have 20 builders remedy projects because they didn't get their housing element in on time, and they are freaking out. And so, of course, we're going to go down there and probably throw a huge event down there and saying, great, you can fight this locally with, you know, try to do the whack-a-mole like you guys have been doing, but this is the only thing left that is going to save all of us, is this initiative. So, and once you get on our website, please donate. Honestly, you know, we'll take anything, like you said, but events like this at times can raise a lot of money, and we need it. And we need it to build our army and hopefully get this thing on the ballot for 2026. So with that said, does anybody else, any of our panelists have anything else to say?
There's a question in the comments regarding, from Jenny Griffith regarding, isn't it illegal to override a voter approved initiative like a coastal initiative with state laws? In Redondo Beach, we have something called Measure DD. This is something our mayor, our late mayor just passed away, Bill Brand, he did in 2008, 2009. And if you rezone a parcel or do a giant rezoning, you have to take that vote, hit certain measures, traffic, density, and complicated stuff, but real simple. If you do rezoning, hit certain measures, it has to go to a vote of the people in the city of Redondo Beach. So SB 10 allows a city council to simply upzone a R1 parcel to 10 units. We fought that with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. The judge came down and says, nah, it doesn't matter that you have a voter initiative. You haven't enacted it yet. It doesn't really matter. Then judge came through and said, you know what? There's an affordability crisis in California as well. That's what the state is saying. So that overrides your local zoning laws and local laws as well. So the answer to that is, not only are they finding ways around it, the courts are working against us as well. So this is what's going to stop everything.
Absolutely. All right. So anybody else want to say anything? Kalima, Dennis?
Great, thank you. Take some questions.
Absolutely. We'll take questions.
Please go and sign up online. We had a lot of new people tonight that I know are not on our list. We'd love to have you join us. We do not send out a lot of email, but we want to make sure that if there's something really critical that we do have a way to reach you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
wonderful,
everyone.
wonderful, wonderful evening.